Alrighty. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Juliette Rudder. I'm the Community Engagement and Outreach Coordinator for the Healthcare Coalition of Southern Oregon. And we are here to talk about breastfeeding basics as part of our community baby shower. And this is our first event. Super excited. So I am here with Ashley Pittam. And she's a registered nurse and international board certified lactation consultant. She's currently a nurse home visitor at UCAN and coordinator of the Umpqua Valley Breastfeeding Coalition. She received her Associates of Nursing at UCC in 2014 and Bachelor's of Nursing at OSU in 2015, along with a graduate certificate from PSU in Infant Toddler Mental Health in 2018. And she's been practicing as an IBCLC since 2016. She is passionate about promoting, protecting, and supporting the breastfeeding families in Douglas County. And she is a mom of two who loves the outdoors, including riding four-wheelers, going to the beach, hunting, and fishing. And we're here with Alyssa Davidson, who is a local social worker who has a bachelor's degree in social work with a coursework focus on women's studies and focus on trauma treatment in her master's program that she is currently finishing. She also has completed the coursework for perinatal mental health certification and is a certified lactation counselor, and a certified baby wearing educator. Alicia works with two organizations that do amazing work, Nurturely and Juniper Tree Counseling. Both organizations focus on providing equitable services to families in a multitude of ways, as well as providing professional development trainings to help other professionals in our community better understand the impact of their interactions on the perinatal community. Supporting new parents and providing access to direct resources in a holistic, patient-centered way is important to her work. By the way, I may have missaid her name several times. It's Alicia. And we're also here with Jess Dagget, who is a perinatal health educator serving families in the Southern Oregon area as a THW doula, a childbirth educator, certified lactation counselor, and bereavement mentor. She obtained her perinatal health training from Aviva College of Midwifery in 2012, and she subsequently dual certified with SBU for bereavement focus, as well as certifying with ALPP for her CLC credentialing. Jess runs a private practice, Mama Told Me, birth and family education in Grants Pass, and works alongside Rogue Valley doulas to serve families in the area seeking doula support paid via Medicaid. Recently, Jess has been a part of the team launching the Doula Training Center in an effort to grow and bolster the doula workforce available in the Southern Oregon area. As a mother of 5 children herself, Jess knows the importance of well-rounded, easily accessed family support being available to families in our area. We've got some pretty knowledgeable people with us, folks. And I would like to ask y'all a few questions that we've gotten both from our, from you and from folks who participate in our programs and who in general have asked questions about breastfeeding. Alrighty, so our first question is, how can one tell if their baby is getting enough milk? Jess, why don't you go first? You're the only one not muted.
Okay. I always joke with families, it's really unfortunate we don't have those little measurement lines on our chest, right? So you can see exactly how much milk our baby's getting. A great indicator of intake is output. And so if we are seeing wet diapers, we are seeing poopy diapers, we know that a good intake is happening. That doesn't always mean that a baby has a really great or efficient latch, but they are at least getting something in, or there wouldn't be anything to get rid of. Also, we get a good gauge on making sure that our baby's getting enough milk by seeing their size increase, right? We watch their weight gain. That's why we have access to those weighing appointments with our pediatrician, with the lactation counselors and consultants at the hospitals and clinics. So, biggest thing is output. Secondarily to that is weight gain.
And output, we are talking about poops, yes?
Poops and wet diapers. Yeah. So
Right.
poopy diapers, wet diapers. A good rule of thumb when we're talking in those first 5 days, day one, we need one wet, one poopy. Day two, two wets, two poopies. Three, three and three, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. Once we get to that 4 to 5 day mark, we really don't want to see less. We want to stay at that 4 to 5 at minimum.
Awesome. Thank you. Ashley, you unmuted first, so you go next.
Yeah. And on the topic of poop, like I feel like I've never talked about poop so much in my life. But really noticing like that change of color in the poop. So by that day 4 and 5, we want to see it like pretty yellow, and some seedy is what most people call it. So yeah, so at first it's going to be like that black, nasty tar. It's going to go kind of greenish and then turning yellow. So we really want to watch that. And then just really like seeing your baby relax when they're done nursing for the most part, unless there's, some other medical things going on with baby. But you're going to see babies kind of like maybe be fisted like this, and then they're going to be relaxed. They're going to be calm. Most of the time they're going to be asleep in what we call like a milk coma. And then a lot of moms will tell me like they feel less full. So your breasts are going to be softer after a feeding. But yeah, otherwise, Jess, I think, hit it.
Awesome. Alicia, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so one of the things that was really helpful for me when I was learning to breastfeed was that I needed to be able to see and hear my baby swallowing. And I never thought about that before. So when we're really listening, it sounds like a little whooshing sound, and you really can see their jaw drop down when they're pulling milk in, and then you want to see them like gulp. That should happen like every 3 sucks. We should have a swallow. If they're really working hard and they're getting to 5, 6, 7 sucks, no swallow, baby might not be getting enough, and it's definitely time to talk to a lactation counselor.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, how much and how often should a baby eat? I'm going to kind of extend this by saying also over time, because I think we've covered that a little bit, but getting a little bit more depth. Ashley, why don't you start us off this time?
Let me unmute. Yeah, so we want baby to really be eating when they're hungry. So you want to watch for those cues of pretty much anytime they're awake and moving their mouth. It's a good time to feed them, try to get them to your chest. So usually it's about 8 to 12 times. Some babies will eat every 30 minutes. So we really want to watch that. And just really watch their cues. You can ask the nurses or your home visitor or other people, like, what are those feeding cues in the early days? And typically, so like that first day, it's going to be about 5 to 7 milliliters, which is that colostrum. So really it's drops. Day 3 is about 22 to 27 milliliters. So about an ounce or a little bit less. Day 5 is about 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. And then about a month is like 80 to 150 milliliters. So that's a little over 2 ounces, 3 ounces. Each baby is a little bit different. So, but those early days, it's just very small amounts. So that's why we really encourage, families, like just a little bit is okay. Like their tummy is very tiny.
It's kind of amazing how tiny their tummy is at the start. Alicia, why don't you go next? If you have anything.
Yeah, so I also want to mention that, some parents are going to be fully pumping. And so we should be seeing in those first few weeks, we should be working up to 25 to 32 ounces. And that's normally a day. And that's normally where babies kind of stay for the first 6 months. And then they definitely adjust after that. Does anybody else have their nursing beads? I think I have one.
You have your nursing beads? Awesome.
I do. So you totally see a representation of all of those things that Ashley just talked about. So this is the first day, that little tiny, it's like the size of a grape. And then around day 3, we're stretching up a little bit. And by day 10, they're at, I would say this is a little bit bigger than a golf ball, maybe the size of a golf ball and a half. So that, yeah, at least that gives us a little bit of an idea of what those ranges kind of look like.
Very cool. Jess, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's important that we remember babies can't tell time. So sometimes we'll have providers say, feed your baby every 2 to 3 hours. And that can be really confusing when my baby's crying and telling me they're hungry after 1 hour. So like Ashley said, some babies will eat every 30 minutes. But what we want to make sure of is that if our baby is eating that frequently, that we're also looking at other things. Our baby shouldn't be eating for an hour at a time. An efficient feed should be 15 to 20 minutes. They should be full and satisfied in that time. If we have a baby that's latching and sucking and seemingly sucking and swallowing for an hour and a half, we can think to ourselves, gosh, my baby's such a great eater. They're just ferociously eating all the time. But my gosh, your poor nipples are probably raw after that because they're not meant to be used that much in one setting. And so we want to make sure that, yes, our baby's eating regularly as they're hungry, but if it starts to feel like an excessive amount of feeding, or like feeding is consuming all of your waking hours, that's definitely a sign that maybe we should be reaching out to a feeding specialist to try and troubleshoot why is our baby eating for so long, or why is our baby eating so frequently. Sometimes it can be that they don't have a great latch, so they're fatiguing, so they're holding on for dear life with their cheeks instead of getting this really beautiful deep latch and using all of their facial muscles. So yes, babies can eat very frequently, but if it's to a point where you feel like all you do is feed your baby, we want to try and assess why that baby is wanting to eat so frequently or so long.
Gotcha. Yeah, and our last question, well, not necessarily our last question, but one of the things that y'all have told me that you get asked a lot is, if the baby isn't getting enough milk, how does one increase their supply? Alicia, why don't you go first?
I just want to preface this by saying that my internet is doing some wonky things. Not sure how well you guys can hear me.
You're a little glitchy, but we can still hear you so far. No.
Okay. All right. My whole computer is freezing.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we go to Jess real quick, and maybe your internet connection will get better when we get back to you, okay?
Okay. So my first answer to this question is, if you truly do think that your baby's not getting enough, the first and greatest priority is to make sure that they are getting enough, whether that is finding a reliable, healthy source for donor milk or supplementing with formula until we can establish more of a consistent supply. The priority is always making sure the baby is fed above all else. From there, then we are working to get baby skin to skin. We are working to get baby stimulating the breast as often as possible. There's a lot of wives' tales out there on magic ways to increase your milk supply. There's also a lot of schools of thought around whether those things are effective. You may hear lactation consultant refer to them as galactagogues, which sounds like a sci-fi term to me every time I hear it. I picture like aliens or something. But when we are utilizing those galactagogues, things like fenugreek or fennel, all of those supplements that we are told work to help increase milk supply, they don't work for everyone. So it's important that when you're troubleshooting that, you're not just kind of going to the health food store and downing all kinds of supplements in hopes that your milk supply will magically increase. So the best and most efficient way to increase your milk supply is skin to skin. Baby to your chest, skin to skin, skin to skin, skin to skin as much as possible. I will let someone else answer further.
Okay. Oh, Ashley, why don't you go?
Want me to go? Yeah. So I obviously echo skin to skin. You guys have heard me say that before. So that's very important. Honestly, we recommend skin to skin for like at least the first 12 weeks and then on as baby will allow you to. And I just really want to say like getting milk out is really important. So feeding the baby more. Getting milk out is going to tell your body, oh, I need to make more milk. So whether that is, we need to give you a pump to pump the milk out, we can do hand expression, or just feeding baby more, keeping baby right there at your chest is really important. And I agree with consulting with an IBCLC or somebody who works in herbal kind of things, because there are some herbs that don't work with certain diagnoses and can make things very dangerous for mom. And then just really like making sure mom is like healthy as well. So we want mom eating and drinking too, and kind of just making sure mom is in a healthy state. And then if we're pumping, some families will like keep like blankets next to them if they can't have baby with them for some reason, say it's like a NICU baby, or mom's back to work and their supply is going down. So really getting mom in a good mental state, because pumping is hard, hand expressing is hard for some families.
Gotcha. Alicia, how's your internet connection?
We're gonna try it. Can you hear me?
You're going a little bit in and out, but let's give it a shot.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say that to echo what Ashley just said, pumping is hard. And sometimes in the beginning, we're encouraged to pump to increase supply, but nobody tells us when we can stop pumping or how to stop pumping. And so addressing that with a lactation counselor, IBCLC, somebody to help you get on a plan, if that's not part of your plan to continue pumping. I think that's really important. And if at some point you are just feeling like you don't know what you're doing or you're needing just reassurance, it's never a wrong reason to reach out for some help.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. We have a question. So this is from Brooklyn. If I drink caffeine, how long should I wait to feed baby so he doesn't get too much caffeine in his little body? I notice that it affects my son when I drink coffee. He gets fussy and can't sleep. I'm seeing nodding. So Jess, why don't you go first?
Caffeine's one of those tricky things. Some babies are very sensitive to it, and other babies, it doesn't faze them. It's one of those, what we would call just dietary sensitivities. Some babies have very sensitive response to varying things in our diet. I'm not going to tell anyone to just cut caffeine out of their system completely, because that would be very difficult. But I would say do so wisely. You could explore consuming your coffee while he's eating, because then it's not in your system quite yet. So then by the time he's ready to eat again, it should be flushed out of your system for the most part, because it is just water soluble. It just flushes through you. It doesn't store in your system too tremendously. So that would be my recommendation. It feels funny nursing and drinking your coffee, but that can be an effective way to do things.
I would have never thought of that. Ashley, you unmuted? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I was just going to say, I think like the peak for caffeine in breast milk is about an hour or so, and it stays in there, like 2.5 hours. So I agree, like feeding or, drinking your coffee, feeding, and then by the next feeding, it should have decreased.
Awesome. Okay, so Chelsea has a question about reaching out to places. So are there any IBCLCs locally that occasionally take on a mentorship? Is that a thing?
So in the works, we possibly in Douglas County are going to be working with Portland State University and OHSU in looking through their program specifically for preceptorship to come.
So not quite here yet, but it may be a thing. And yeah, we will blast that all over our Healthy Start page. Like, yeah, when that happens. Awesome. Great. Brooklyn says, thank you for the advice. Great tips. And IBCLC, what does that stand for? Real quick. Ashley, go ahead.
Yeah, International Board Certified Lactation Consultant.
There it is. All right. I'm going to leave that as our last question. Thank you all for attending. This has been fantastic. And make sure to stay tuned for a little bit later on today for our realistic expectations around breastfeeding. So I hope to see you all there. Check out our Facebook page or Instagram for more information on that. I also wanted to mention that there is a breastfeeding guide now for Douglas and Josephine counties. So if you are interested in learning more information about that, those are going to be floating around here very soon. So, alrighty. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Happy Monday.